they yummy, sweetie? Are they yummy?
Dog there. This looks so fluorescent.
Delicious, delicious, my puppy is delicious. Oh. Hello guys,
Welcome to this video. We are gonna call this, I don't know what we're gonna call this. Theo is all up in my grill. Okay, this is not gonna work. UPS is here, please don't howl. Okay, we are going to have a little bit of a snack time advice session here. Maybe snack time suggestion sessions. That doesn't sound good. In this video, I'm going to really just kind of like rapid fire some different advice suggestions. I'm really gonna take my most frequent questions that you guys ask me, give a little bit of advice, but also point you in the direction of resources that are gonna help even more actually work through this stuff more than I can just do in one YouTube video. So this is like a cram session of info for you guys, directing you to where you need to go. But I am going to have, I'm hungry, so one of these Bear Bells, I had one of these in my, this is upside down, in my last video, and you guys gave me a lot of good flavor suggestions. So this is the Creamy Crisp Protein Bar. If you guys don't know, hi, I'm Colleen. I'm a non-diet registered dietitian, here to help you learn to eat with no food rules, to not diet, and eat in a way that feels good, both mentally and physically. That's what we're doing here. So we're also gonna give this a try. You see that? This is a good one, guys. Maybe this whole snack time thing wasn't a good idea if I'm gonna be eating and talking at the same time. In here, I have a black raspberry sparkling water with a little bit of lemonade, like water enhancer thing in it. It's delicious. It's my favorite combo. Just gives it an extra little kick there. Okay, I think I'm gonna eat this before we give advice. Probably a smart idea. Hi, baby. Hi, baby boy. You gonna help? You gonna help? This is very good. Creamy, crispy. Since it's called Creamy Crisp, makes sense. Very good. All right, guys, let's get into it. So all of the resources that I'm gonna point you guys to in this video are free resources. Even the ones that I talk about that are in the app, you can download the app for free. If you don't know, I have an app that's called The Society. It's where you learn how to eat with no food rules. Step by step, you get a customized plan. It is free to download. So even if I talk about like a coaching video or a lesson in there, I'll only point you to the ones that are free. So you don't have to worry about that, okay? Totally risk-free to download. You don't have to put in a card or anything. Let's get to it. Let's pull up your questions. Okay, first question, very, very common one, is how do I gain back fullness cues? The answer is it depends. In all cases, there's typically, you go through a process of what I call biological reconditioning. So a lot of people expect that when I start to listen to my body, I'm just gonna start listening to my hunger and fullness cues. The reality is we need to strengthen our hunger and fullness cues before we can listen to them. Now, one of the reasons why when you download the app, you take a quiz to get a customized plan is because everyone might do things a little bit differently. They might need some different things in order to get their body back to a place where it can give them strong hunger and fullness cues. For example, someone who has a lot of restrictive food rules is going to do things a little bit differently than someone who is overeating. There are some differences there. That's why that quiz that you take, it takes 2 minutes to fill out, is super, super important, because that is actually what I use to guide how you get your hunger and fullness cues back. But one of the biggest things is
we have to strengthen them. And we can't typically just listen to them because dieting and food rules steal our ability to do that. When you get inside the app, there will be one of the first lessons in your course. Again, you can watch this for free in No Food Rules 101. It'll give you an overview of your customized course. I go into detail in that video on the process of what you need to do, specifically the steps. I will say one of the biggest things in talking about hunger and fullness cues is to focus on that before necessarily breaking all of your food rules at once. But that'll get a lot more nitty gritty on how to do that with your specific needs. Next question here. What is the best way to not feel guilty after eating? Two of the big things here is the mental side of things and then the exposure side of things. So the mental side of things, food, especially food guilt, is a mind game. It's really, honestly, training your brain a new way of thinking about food. Food guilt is learned. We are taught what foods we should see as quote unquote bad or we shouldn't eat, and we should feel guilty eating them. We're taught that by diet culture. So it's truly creating new processes in your brain of how it categorizes food. That's the mental work. One resource that you can do in the app, we have affirmations. You can scroll food freedom affirmations. That is going to help you with the brain rewiring process and to help you overcome that food guilt. When you feel food guilt, open up the app. You can, again, do this for free. Scroll through some food freedom affirmations. That's going to help train your brain to think a new way. That's one part of it. The other part of it is exposure, right? The more that we do something, the less we're going to feel guilty over it. Now, one thing I will say is, let's take the example of cake, okay? If you're saying, I feel guilty eating cake, right? The more that we allow ourselves to be exposed to cake, to realize it's okay to eat the cake, the less we'll feel guilty doing it. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people focus on sitting down and just eating cake, like in one shot. I like to focus on what I call touch points. So the more opportunities that you have to engage with cake versus the amount of cake that you eat at one time. Touch points, the amount of exposure versus the amount of exposure at one time, is going to be key. Obviously, I do not recommend restricting yourself, saying I can only have this much, but a lot of people tend to focus on how much they eat at one time and not necessarily how often they eat it. Having that frequency is really going to help there. Not saying you need to eat it all day long every day, but this is something that we go over in your custom course that I call touch points. It's called a process of habituation, but it's not necessarily about going deep with the food, about eating more of it. It's about eating it more often. That really helps with that exposure and not feeling as guilty. I would also recommend focusing on one food at a time, not necessarily, okay, all the foods. That's actually going to help you speed up the process. Okay, as we had to change spots because the light was getting a little wild in there. So where did we leave off? Okay, so how do I stop craving and eating sweets at night? So this depends. We have to understand first if it is biologically driven or psychologically driven. What I mean by biologically driven is that your body is essentially missing something typically during the day that's causing it to want to eat those foods at night. That's the biology side of things. The psychology side of things is more of either it could be, oh, those cookies are bad, I shouldn't have it. That's going to make us want those things more. Or potentially emotional eating. That can also be a psychological driver. So we need to first understand biological or psychological. Maybe as I'm talking through this, one of those things comes to mind, whether you are maybe restricting during the day, not eating carbs during the day. Both of those things can cause nighttime eating. Or maybe you're like, no, it's more of an emotional thing. What you can do in the app, there's a free coaching video on mindless eating at night. Literally, it's going to give you everything that you need, but the biggest thing is to figure out which of those two. It could be both, and I think Theo's getting my protein bar wrapper. It could be both. Always start with biological. Can I have that, sir? Got it. It was empty. All right, next question. When you started intuitive eating, was there any mistakes that you made that might help us? Yes. And my biggest, I don't think anything's a mistake. I think it's always a learning experience. My learning experience was that having a plan is important. Having a plan is not counterintuitive to being intuitive, right? I get asked that question a lot because that's exactly what my app does. It creates a customized plan for you. And some people will say, well, isn't that kind of counterintuitive, like having a plan to eat intuitively? It's like learning a new language, or maybe a language that you've previously known, but you can still go back to classes to learn it, right? Yes, the goal is for us to be able to speak fluently, to be able to just, speak the language. But in order to get there, we have to have a plan. We have to go through lessons and whatnot. It's the exact same thing with eating intuitively and learning to eat with no food rules. When I went into this, I feel like I need to do another updated video on my whole story with it, because I had no plan and I ended up just ping-ponging back and forth between restricting and binge eating because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any guidance, and that's why I do the work that I do today in helping you guys get there. So anything, this question, is there anything that might help us that you did maybe not the best? Literally everything I teach and preach here is everything I wish I would have known when I was going through this, and all the mistakes that I made, I want to help you bypass them. Okay, a couple more questions here. If I eat intuitively, can I lose weight? Yes. The goal is for you to find the weight that your body feels best at, right? For some people, yes, that is going to be weight loss. For others, weight gain, weight maintenance. There is, in your customized course, this is again a free lesson that I include because it's very important, is the lesson called Your Best Weight. Go in the app, go to your customized course, and you will see that lesson. It'll talk you through everything you need to know about weight and how to find your best weight. The key is we have to take the focus off of weight and put it onto how we feel. And so yes, for some, they will lose weight. For others, they will gain weight. And for others, they will maintain weight. None of them is right or wrong. It just is finding the place that your body wants to be. Okay, 2 more. How to deal with entitlement eating. I struggle with this. If we have goodies, sometimes I'm not in the mood, but I eat it anyway. Saying no to treats, I feel like I'm being diety, but I genuinely don't want it, yet I still eat them. How can I help with this? So entitlement eating is essentially like eating because you can, right? And I have talked about this a lot on my channel here, and in the app, there's a video called I Can't Stop Eating Junk. There's 2 things I'm going to direct you to. There's a coaching video on I can't stop eating quote unquote junk food. And then also the No Food Rules 101 video in your custom course. That's going to be super, super helpful in explaining how to have the mindset of we're not just rebelling against diet culture. The key is you want to focus on where is this want coming from? Is it I want the actual food, or is it I want the idea of the food, right? Perfect example of entitlement eating is going to the store and seeing the donuts, right? And I actually had this the other day. I was like, oh, donuts would be a nice, fun pick-me-up. But when I asked myself if I actually wanted the donut itself, honestly, I didn't like any of the flavors that they had. And I was like, no, what I'm actually wanting is just a pick-me-up. So sometimes what we're wanting is to realize I'm not dieting, or we're wanting something else, right? So ask yourself, do I actually want this food, or do I like the excitement of it? Do I like the, idea of it? You can eat it regardless, but allowing yourself to understand the why can help you kind of navigate that decision. All right, we'll end on this one. It says, can intuitive eating be different for everyone? If so, what does it mean to you? So I think 100% it's going to look different for everyone. because we're all different human beings, right? The process of learning to eat intuitively is going to be different for everyone. The actual act of it, whether someone has dietary restrictions, what makes one person feel good is going to be different than what makes someone else feel good. So even as you're watching my channel here, and I do a lot of full days of eating, I never want someone to just copy what I'm doing, because that's what it looks like for me. And that's why I always try to explain the why behind my food choices and not just say, this is what I'm eating, this is what you should eat too. I don't want to tell you what to eat. I want to teach you how to eat so that you can make your own decisions that make you feel good and find what intuitive eating means and looks like for you, right? My goal, what it means to me, is eating in a way that feels good. Eating in a way that feels good mentally and physically. And I always like to say, my goal is to help you live a long, joy-filled life. So what that means, yes, finding joy in food, not feeling stressed out about it, but also eating in a way that supports your body for you to be able to live as long of a life as possible. So yes, that means nutrition and caring for it so that we can have more of those ice cream runs, so that we can do more of those things. And that's what we do here on this channel. Download the app. You can get started with that for free to learn how to do that. If you're like, yeah, that's what I want, that is my goal. That is why I'm here. Okay. All right, guys, I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this video went in a million different directions, but that is my brain as I'm trying to prepare for vacation. I'm like half packed. I have so many work things that I still have to get done, but I hope this video maybe gave you some sort of a direction. Let me know in the comments if there was anything that resonated with you, and I would love to hear if you do go to those resources. They're going to explain this in way more detail than I possibly could. So go to those resources in the app. They're all free, the ones that I pointed to. You can check them out. But okay, guys, with that, we're going to end this video, this hot mess of a video. But I'm putting perfectionist Colleen aside right now and just wanting to get a video up to provide some guidance for you guys. So not my best work, probably, but that's okay, because perfection doesn't exist, right? Be sure to like this video, even though it's probably going to be a hot mess. Subscribe to the channel if you want more actual videos that are going to be a little bit more put together, thought out, creative, whatever. And leave a comment letting me know what you think, and hit the bell to be notified. My next video after this, I'm planning for it to be a full day of eating on the cruise, and that's going to be a fun one. I'm so excited. Okay. All right, guys, I am going to go finish up the work day. I'll see you later.